Welcome into an all-new week of Daily Faceoff Live. Tyler Yaremchuk, Carter Hutton with you. And as always, we are streaming live on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. The show, as always, is a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. And Huts, you and I are both smiling today. We're getting a Game 7 with our beloved Toronto Blue Jays.
We are. What a game last night. Just the city's buzzing. Everything's buzzing. This is unbelievable. I can't believe we're going to Game 7. One win away from the World Series and the evil empire now, the modern day, the LA Dodgers. So let's go Jays.
Yeah, it's going to be rocking in Toronto tonight. However, the other Toronto team lost to the other Seattle team over the weekend with the Kraken taking down the Maple Leafs. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll kick off this week as we do every week. We're giving out our Man of the Weekend awards, the most prestigious award in all of Monday hockey talk shows, Huts. I'll kick it off. I'll go first today because I wanted to give some love to Jonathan Toews. He got his first multi-point game since returning to the league. And, you know, if you look at the numbers, you watch the play, it's been a little bit of a slow start for Toews and his return to the Jets, but hey, that should be expected. He's been out of the sport for 2 years. But one, I thought he did a really good interview with Elliot Friedman, kind of opening up on his journey back to the league. I love when players open up like that. And two, every game, if you watch, he's gotten better and better and more comfortable. And I think there's reason to believe that this is a guy who, you know, he's not going to get back to Captain Serious winning the cup level, but I think he's going to get back to a really solid level at some point here. And a 2-point night on the weekend is a good building block for Toews.
Yeah, huge. You know, and again, taking that extra time off is so tricky for a guy like Jonathan Toews. And, you know, obviously him potentially being that 2C where he can fit in this lineup and play well, it's going to take time, right? And again, I think just having him around this team, his leadership, his background, and everything he's been through is going to be important. And one thing I've noticed now is it more modern media? Because I felt like when I played, it was hush, right? You didn't tell the media anything. You kept it quiet. It's nice now that guys are starting to, you know, show more behind the curtain of what goes on. And I think it's great for the individual. We can humanize the athletes and understand that they're not just a piece that we move up and down on our fantasy team. So it's been great to see for Toews coming back with their leadership group and a good start, obviously, for the Winnipeg Jets.
Who'd you got for your Man of the Weekend?
So for my Man of the Weekend, I had a couple guys. Nick Schmaltz weekend was crazy. He had the Friday and Sunday night one. He had 6 points over the weekend, 3 goals, 3 assists. I went with Mitch Marner. Vegas game, huge game for Mitch. Finally gets on the scoreboard. He scores early. Barbashev on a great forecheck, feeds Mitch in the slot, makes a great play. He roofs it. And then his other goal was an absolute world-class one. It was a top-notch goal. Mitch Marner, he's coming through the neutral zone with speed. He kicks it out. He gets it back and just foils everybody. So I think the hype around Marner's been so good. He's got, I think he has 8 points now in 6 games we got here, and it's been unbelievable, that line. This depth of Vegas, where they're at, the addition of Carter Hart. This is a dangerous hockey team. And I guess maybe I'm biased toward Mitch Marner because of just the hoopla that's gone on with him around Toronto and, you know, everything he's dealt with. For him to go there and have a good start and be getting it done is fun to watch.
And listen, like, this Vegas team will be defined on how far they make it in the playoffs, and to make it deep in the West, as we've seen the last 2 years, you got to roll through the Edmonton Oilers at one point and go toe-to-toe with their star power up front. And there are not a lot of teams in the league who can match a McDavid and Draisaitl 1-2 punch. But what this Marner addition does for Vegas, if it puts them right on that level. Like, you all of a sudden look, a top line of Eichel, Barbashev, Stone, so legit. A second line, Hurdle, Marner, Dorofeev. And then what that does is it pushes Carlson and Riley Smith down to a third line role when they can thrive with, you know, taking on more defensive matchups where you're not leaning on them to score. Like, the way everything is slotted right now in Vegas, like, the only concern there is that they all got to stay healthy. I know there was a shift over the weekend where Stone was hobbling off. And if you're a Golden Knights fan, you're probably wincing a little bit at that, being like, okay, if everyone stays in the lineup, like, they'll have a threat to go deep is kind of my point. I wanted to give one more shout out, actually. Detroit Red Wings rookie, Lethbridge, Alberta product, Emmett Finney Huts. This guy was a 7th round pick, 201st overall in 2003. And it's not even like he took a particularly long time to get to the NHL. He only has 13 career American Hockey League games. He had 5 points in those 13 games in the AHL. He now has 5 points in his first 6 NHL games. He scored twice against the Edmonton Oilers on Sunday afternoon. A 7th round pick who jumps basically right into the NHL and is making an impact. It's a hell of a story.
It's awesome too. And to do it against the Edmonton Oilers for him, I'm sure there's a lot of people at home proud to watch that game and see what he did. And, this is a Detroit Red Wings team that is, making a little bit of noise here. Again, me and you, we've both been hesitant on this Wings team, right? It's kind of buyer beware right now, but they're playing well. 5-1. Their goaltending has been so good. After a bad start, I felt like everybody was mailing it in on Gibson. And I we'll get to the betting segment after, but I bet on Gibby here. But with Talbot and Gibson, you can kind of platoon the two. The young energy, Larkin looked really, really good in the other night. He skates, he provides a lot of offense for this team. And then for the young guys just fitting in and finding the right fit, it's a dangerous team right now. In an Atlantic, that's a little bit of sputtering going on, right? You look at the Leafs. Obviously, we see the drama went on this weekend, dropping that one. And then obviously what Florida's been doing. The Panthers, they haven't really been playing as well as we expected. I don't think anyone saw this setback, but not to this point. So it's a good start for them to bank some points here early in the season.
Yeah, for Gibson, after getting yanked in the season opener, he backstops the Wings to back-to-back wins over the weekend over Tampa and Edmonton. So plenty of good stories from around the weekend, but we'll maybe turn our attention to one that's not so good, especially if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. They fall 4-3 to the Seattle Kraken on Saturday night, and it was a spicy Anthony Stolarz post-game. Not only was he upset about the goal, and we'll talk about the winner in a little bit, but he also got ran pretty hard in the second period. And as you kind of watch the replay here for those of you on YouTube, there's not a huge reaction to this. It actually takes Stolarz getting up and totally yeeting the net off of its moorings and going after a guy until finally his teammates clue in and are like, oh, maybe we should do something about the fact our goalie just got smoked. We'll give our takes on this in just a second, but first, here's what Stolarz had to say after the game.
I mean, it's just playing hard. I mean, maybe we can take a page out of their book and start getting to the net. I mean, for us, it's, we like to go a little high and shoot, but, it's for their goalie, it's like playing catch in the yard. You're seeing everything, and we're not making it difficult. We made it difficult in the third, and look what happened. We came out, tied the game, got a point out of it, almost scored with 5 seconds left, but it's a little too late. And I think, even though we're 6 games into the season, it's, enough's enough, and we kind of got to start picking it up here. Overtime, you can't let someone beat you up the ice there, and, gets a clear-cut breakaway. I mean, minute left, you want to be on the ice in that situation, you got to work hard. Got to work back, and it cost us a point there. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I said, it's early. We do have, some time to gel, but, I mean, at the end of the day, too, it's more or less just about working hard, and, when we work hard, the results come. You saw it in the third period, and, we can't play for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We got to do it for a complete 60.
Huts, those are some pretty direct shots from the Leafs goalie.
They are, a few things. The playing catch in the yard is an all-time comment from a goalie. And I get it, right? Because I've been in those situations where you're just getting bombarded with traffic and hard energy games, and the goalie's just watching the game so easy, making it so, for them, I think Stolarz, this is him being a veteran. This is him under Craig Berube now for another season, and understanding that their culture needs to change, right? We can't have passengers. We can't have guys that are just going to be checked out during a game. And again, these are shots at some of the stars too. This is a shot at William Nylander in overtime, staying on the ice for too long and dogging it. Something we've almost come to expect with William Nylander. I know years ago in the playoffs, he had that one forecheck where he didn't finish the check and everybody lit him up. But in the last few it's almost like he gets a free pass in the last few years where, well, that's what happens with William. He just, he checks in, he checks out, where accountability in your room is going to be so important. And that hit, for me is one where it's always a fine line if the guy drove you in. Marchand goes straight to the net, runs him over. Brandon Carlo is standing there watching his goalie get run over, and he doesn't do anything. If you watch Carlo on this play, this is embarrassing in my opinion. McCabe goes behind the net. Carlo's just standing there doing absolutely nothing. And for me, that's where Stolarz gets up and gets in there. At least McCabe's jumping in. This is just a message. You don't need to fight a guy, but you need to get in there and do something. And again, this will distribute throughout the team. This is the leadership of this group, and your goalie taking it and wearing it on his sleeve is something I don't think the Leafs really want to see, Ty.
Yeah, no, that Carlo thing, it looks like there when you watch the replay, Stolarz almost wants to get in there and get a piece of Carlo. Maybe he's not even going after someone on the Kraken, but your goalie gets ran. That's auto shed. Again, you don't have to fight a guy, but get in there and grab someone and yank them out. The fact it took Stolarz freaking out for anyone on the Leafs to kind of clue in and be like, oh man, maybe we should do something here. It's ridiculous. And all the conversation about this Toronto team this year and, Marner leaves, are they going to be as good in the regular season? Like, similar to Vegas in the sense they're going to be judged on how things go come springtime. But the conversation this year won't be results based. It'll be about the culture. It'll be about the style in which they're playing. And you have a game like last night where, okay, yeah, sure, you go and scoop up a point. But when you come out of there and you're questioning their team toughness, and I know sometimes those are like eye-rolling cliche things, but like if you're questioning their team toughness and their effort, like that's the biggest knock you can have on this Leafs team this season.
It is too, and I think today we might have to tune in on Leafs Morning Take to hear what Jay Rosehill has to say about this, because I know this is going to drive Jay wild, because this is a culture breaker, right? This is where you come in the room after and it's like awkward, and things are going to be said behind closed doors, but what is the response going to be? And it's okay. It's not okay. That's not the right way for me to put it, but this stuff happens. How do they respond to this is what you're going to see when you talk about a team and a unit. Where do they go from here? And I think Stolarz he's a guy that performs well. He wears it on his sleeve, and he'll be the first guy out there if he plays bad, owning it, right? So it'll be interesting to see how the Stars respond to the push from their goalie and from the situation that happened.
Shout out, while I'm giving out the Alberta shout outs today, Josh Mahura with that OT winner, by the way, product of St. Albert, Alberta. Him and I went to school together. We're from the same town. So shout out to Josh Mahura for finding the back of the net in OT. A couple more things from the weekend. Then we actually have two guests joining us today on the show. We'll get to Steven Ellis in a bit, but there were a couple of moments that had a couple of fan bases a little irate over the weekend. And we'll start with a big hit from guess who? Tom Wilson. He absolutely levels Filip Chytil in the Canucks Capitals game. And, you can kind of count is it 2 seconds? Not quite, but he catches Chytil admiring a pass and smokes him in open ice. And listen, a part of this conversation is this is a guy in Filip Chytil who has missed plenty of time over the last couple of seasons with concussions. Another part of this is that it's Tom Wilson. I think if you were to show me this replay with shadows only, and I don't know who the players are, Huts, I don't think I have an issue with the hit. It's maybe 2 minutes for interference.
This is something that, for me has gone away in the game. We don't see it as often. If we go back, if I go through my Rolodex here and we grab an old Rock'em Sock'em, this is all it is these kind of checks in open ice. This is a young player dishing the puck out to the wide ice, skating into the middle ice with his head down, and he catches him right in the chest. And again, I feel like the situation is who it is in the situation. It's Tom Wilson, a guy who's known for killing guys and hurting it. It's close. This is really on the line for me, Ty. Like a little bit longer, it's a horrible hit, but he doesn't hit him in the head. He hits him square in the chest. And I think this is just, you have to understand that this is a physical league, and you have to know who you're on the ice against. And if you're going to make a cute pass in the neutral zone and skate admiring it, you got to be ready for it. And I feel for the kid because he's been through so much. But at some point, someone has to defend Tom Wilson in the sense of this is the way he plays the game, and this is the way that he has to walk that line.
Yeah, and I'm usually not one to defend Tom Wilson. I think he crosses the line a lot, but this one, it's not it for me. It's a fine hit. If you take this out of the game, you're taking a lot of physicality out of the game. And if you're Chytil, you need to have your head on a swivel. It's not Tom Wilson's job to not hit you because you've had concussion issues. That's not really the way the sport works. So I know the Department of Player Safety is going to take a look at it today, be stunned if anything came from it, and nothing deserves to come from it. So Wilson on Chytil is one of them. This next one, it did land Brad Marchand a fine, but who thought Buffalo and Florida was going to get spicy this weekend? Well, Dahlin may be taking out some early season frustrations on Marchand, and you can tell Marchand did not like that at all. He goes back and gives Dahlin a real nasty shot up top, levels him with a couple of punches as well. And as the replay goes on here, Marchand's got Dahlin's helmet. He gets into the penalty box and absolutely dismantles the thing. He's ripping off ear straps and rips it onto the ice, throws that into the stands. Was this over the line from Marchand, or is this just Brad being Brad?
I think this is just Brad being Brad. It's definitely over the line. The one that's worrisome is this one right here, where he jumps at him with that cross check. That's where you could seriously hurt somebody. And I think that the helmet is just fluff. That's just part of the game. And I think you're just seeing a frustrated Brad Marchand with the way things have started with the Florida Panthers lineup. And again, he is a player like Tom Wilson who has to walk that line too, right? He is a guy that can get under your skin. And we saw that in the playoffs, how successful he was at getting teams off their game. And next thing you know, he's putting the puck in the back of the net, where this is just pure frustration. And for Rasmus Dahlin, he's got to play on that edge too. He's another guy that has a physical aspect to this game, but it worked out for them. They were able to win this game and play, on a team that started so slow, Ty, and they're able to move on. It's been a good start here now for the Buffalo Sabres the last few games. And what I wanted to say, too, I wanted to circle back on that Tom Wilson play. Remember last year against Montreal Canadiens when he threw that giant body check and it changed the whole series? I can't picture who it was against. So that is an aspect that is part of the game. And just like Brad Marchand winning a Stanley Cup, you have to do those sort of things that walk the line. And right now his team's not going. I think he's just trying to find a spark to get something going for the Florida Panthers, Ty.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Also, Buffalo Sabres back-to-back wins now after the sky was falling 7 days ago. So, and yeah, if you're Dahlin, that's just a little bit of, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns or whatever. Like if you want to go at Marchand and cross-check him and play that style, sure, go at him. But he's also allowed to give it right back to you. So again, I was watching that Florida-Buffalo game this weekend. It got real spicy. Okay, let's get to our first big segment of the day. It is the Next Wave with Steven Ellis, and it's brought to you by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, or after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Always a pleasure to be joined by our friend Steven Ellis from Daily Faceoff, talking about this year's rookie class and some early returns on some fresh faces in the league. And Steven, I want to start with the big dog, Matthew Schaefer, leading this rookie class in scoring, or at least tied for that top spot. He's looked really good early on. I've watched a couple of these games. The way he moves up and down the ice, the way he's keeping up with the pace of the NHL. We're early on, but are we talking about the next superstar on the blue line in the NHL?
I think so. And, when you look at the way the season started, I don't think anyone, especially myself, thought he'd be this good right away. He only played, if you count preseason games and exhibition and OHL regular season games, he only played about 30 games total last year. So for him to come in here with just a handful of exhibition games in the preseason this year and at the World Junior Summer Showcase, thinking he'd be playing 26 minutes in his second game, kind of nuts. But the fact he's been so good for the Islanders, he's got points in every single game so far, is incredible. And you look at it, still the Islanders are not a great team. They had to really grind to go and beat the Ottawa Senators. They lost their first 3 games. They beat the Oilers. I guess that was a really good effort from them. But overall, this felt like a situation here where Schaefer's been thrown in to do a lot more than I think he probably should have right away. But he's showing no signs of slowing down here. He's looking great. He's been the best Islander so far. So right now, he is the early Calder favorite. Shout out to him the way he's playing. Just so smart, so skilled, great skater. He's got everything you're looking for in a young defenseman right now.
You know what? He's been so impressive, right? And it's a big step for these guys, a big jump. But I'm going to switch out west here to Minnesota. Zeev Buium. Everything he's done so far, he's played a lot of minutes. What do you think about him that surprised you with his jump to the NHL now full-time this season, getting started right on training camp?
I think it's just been how good he's been on the power play. He's been really just making some fantastic plays. He's got a couple of multi-point games already. And I think I expected a lot of points out of him. This was a guy I was projecting for 55, 60 points as a defenseman. And so far he's on pace for 69. So he's doing quite well right now. But the fact that he's been just, whenever they need a goal, whenever they need a pass, whenever they need something out of him to make a great play, he's getting it done. He's so smart. Watching him play at the University of Denver the last couple of years, you saw in the way that he impacted every shift. It reminded me, like, not totally stylistically, but the overall impact of what we saw Cale Makar do when he was playing in college hockey. He's just a guy that Denver always needed something to happen, and he was making it happen. And so far, playing 20 minutes a night, he's been able to do that really well with Minnesota. He is going to be a top pairing guy in the long term for this team, and they got to love what they're seeing right now.
Another Western team here in the Pacific Division, Bennett Seneca with the Anaheim Ducks is drawing some attention. Like, what is your take about his game so far, and where does his game suit like us moving forward? He's another 19-year-old in the league that's having success.
Yeah, you look at kind of where his draft rankings were a couple years ago, and he had a really solid rookie season in the OHL of 55 points, and he moved up to 68 the year after. But what was really important was just how different his game became. He was a much smaller player. I think he was under 6 foot when he was drafted to the OHL. He's 6'4", around 200 pounds now. Like, this dude's a menacing figure out there, and he really started to show that the last 2 years in the OHL. When you look at the fact that he's still OHL eligible, it always felt like he was going to be sent back down at some point. but he hasn't been. He's got 4 points in 5 games. He had a really good preseason, like a really good second half of the preseason specifically. Yeah, he hasn't got points in the last 2 games. The offense is kind of dried up there for Anaheim with just those 2 goals, but when they were thriving early on, he had 4 points in the first 3 games. So I think what you're seeing from him right now is a player that's playing with so much motivation. He's just built for the pro style game with that size, with that skill, with that speed. And I think Hockey Canada is looking here and saying, like, well, we kind of hope he trails off a bit so we can get him for the World Juniors. But the Anaheim Ducks got to be looking at this and saying, you know, people criticized us for that number 3 pick a couple years ago, but it's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, it's always funny when you see those high picks that in the moment are criticized. You even go back to Columbus, that way back with the Pierre-Luc Dubois pick, and everyone's calling him crazy. Then it was like, you know, a year and a half into his career, everyone's like, oh, maybe they actually did know what they were doing there. Again, Seneca, Buium, and Schaefer, like these are guys who came in with some amount of pedigree. And we talked, Hutton and I, earlier in the show about a guy like Emmett Finney in Detroit, a 7th-round pick from a couple years ago, who now it's like, whoa, like he's jumped into the NHL and he's off to a flying start. Another guy who he's not the same kind of story as Finney, but I look at Oliver Kapanen in Montreal, Steven, and like a 2nd-round pick from 2021. Like this is a guy who was drafted 4 years ago now, and he played in Legia, he played in Sweden, he had a cup of coffee last year, but now he's coming out. Like this guy's playing middle 6 minutes for the Habs. He's got 3 goals on the year. How surprised are you at the impact he's having 4 years after he was drafted?
Well, I tweeted over the summer that Oliver Kapanen was going to be a guy that is going to make a big impact in the NHL. And now I didn't think he'd have 3 goals at this point of the season, but what we're seeing from him is this guy who can play a 2nd or 3rd line role and be really good at it. And he really came alive a couple years ago at the World Championship where he had 6 goals in 8 games with Finland. And at the time he was, still a young player. I think he was only 20, 21 years old. And not many people knew what type of impact he was going to have, but he looked really good in the Finnish Pro League. Then last year, he starts in the NHL, doesn't produce a lot, doesn't play a ton, goes to Sweden, looks fantastic. So all the signs at every level show that this guy can produce, but that's not really his game. It's more about being this player that can get to the front of the net, use his, he's 6'1", but it feels like he plays a bit bigger at points because he does take a lot of space up. He's always moving, always trying to find his line mates, and it doesn't seem to matter who he plays with. He's making something happen. But in particular, he is playing a 5 at Davidoff right now, and it's when you got a guy like that with the skill, obviously you're going to be able to put some points on the board. But what Kapanen's doing is he's so reliable. He's got a really good 2-way game. And you look at the long-term future for him, maybe he's your 4th-line center because you've got Owen Beck coming up. You've got Michael Haig coming up. You already got Suzuki. So then now you're looking at this, okay, so what type of role does Kapanen fit? Maybe he does fall down farther in the lineup. But if he is your number 4 center, I predict he could be one of the best 4th-line centers in the NHL. Still too early because he is playing that 2nd-line role right now, but I think the Habs fans are looking at this and saying, this guy was a 2nd-round pick. We're really happy with his development right now, and the way he's playing, he's making the team better every single night.
Prospect expert, associate editor at dailyfaceoff.com, Steven Ellis. Appreciate you popping on. We'll chat again next week.
Thanks so much.
All right, Hots, cruising along with the show. We have a new segment we are debuting today, and we're going to be having this every Monday, talking a little fantasy hockey, a little betting, a little stats with our guy, Brock Seguin. He is the managing fantasy editor at dailyfaceoff.com, the man behind the little jerseys that everybody loves and the starting goalies page and all that stuff. The man who does not eat dinner during the hockey season because he's waiting for beat reporters to tweet out lineups and pregame, things like that. Brock, how you doing?
Good, thanks, fellas. Excited to make my DFO live debut today. I feel a little bit like a guy that's been grinding in the AHL for the last few years. Finally got to call up to the big squad. Hopefully I can make a good first impression here and stick with the big club this year.
All right, the segment is called A Guy, a Stat, and a Trend. You are going to give us one player that fantasy owners should be looking out for, one stat that's caught your eye in the last week, and a trend you are keeping an eye on as well. So let's hear it. Let's start with your guy.
My guy right now is Jackson Blake of the Carolina Hurricanes. I really think Blake can turn himself into a household name this season, especially given the way he started this year and just the role that is constantly expanding. He had a solid rookie year last year and really found his stride late in the season. He had 6 goals, 6 assists in his final 14 games. Now, if you include the start of this year, That stretches to 7 goals and 9 assists for 16 points in his last 19 regular season games. So that's a 30-goal, 69-point pace, really solid production from a middle six winger here in Carolina. But what makes Blake, really stand out as a fantasy asset is his shot volume. He currently ranks 6th in the entire NHL in shots on goal per 60, and he's tied for 22nd in individual expected goals for per 60. So at 5-5, he's built really nice chemistry early in the season with Logan Stankoven. They're averaging an elite 3.6 expected goals for per 60, generating 8 plus scoring chances per game thus far. But the biggest development last week was Rod Brindamore promoted Blake to the top power play unit. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of stats at you, but this one's really interesting. He replaced Andrei Svechnikov on that top unit, and it's paying off right now. According to Sports Logic, which tracks offense-generating plays, which are things like passes or carries to the slot that directly lead to shots on goal, Blake leads all Hurricanes in those plays on the man advantage so far this season and ranks 11th in the entire NHL on a per-minute basis. So he deserves that spot. That unit's been better with him on it, and I think that we're really looking, at a breakout season from Blake this year. And if you don't mind, I would like to just throw out 2 other names. I know it's one name, but Zach Benson and Josh Doan are my 2 favorite streaming options this week. And the Sabres have a very favorable matchups this week. They're number 1 in our strength of schedule for fantasy hockey this week. So I think they're 2 guys that you can stream this week that could potentially turn into long-term assets because they've been great thus far.
Yeah, they've been unreal.
That's great. That's a lot of good players. I know. I just think like Blake, and the other thing I think about Brock is the fact that he has that contract and they're giving him that opportunity, right? He's there for a long time. Now, can you hit us with a stat?
Yeah, my stat, this obviously feels good as a Red Wings fan. I mean, just what a week for Dylan Larkin and the Detroit Red Wings. They were perfect. They were 4-0 last week. They beat 3 Atlantic Division powerhouses, Toronto, Florida, Tampa Bay, and then capped it off with a 4-2 win over the Oilers on Sunday. Sorry, Ty. At least the Blue Jays got the win for you. But Larkin was the catalyst all the way through last week, and they needed him to be. Detroit was missing Lucas Raymond for 2 of those games. Patrick Kane missed Sunday's matchup against the Oilers, but Larkin absolutely carried the load. He led the entire NHL in scoring last week with 9 points. So my stat this week is 9 points for Dylan Larkin. Last week he had 4 goals, 5 assists in 4 games. The performance, just built on what was an already really hot start for him. He has recorded a point in every single game so far this season. Right now, he's tied for 3rd in the NHL in points, 6th in goals, and with 5, and then tied for 7th in assists. So he's been great thus far. He also sits 8th overall in the NHL in individual expected goals. So he hasn't been just getting lucky. He's been getting good chances, and he's been capitalizing. It's just been, a fantastic start for him. But I really think this heater could continue. They got great matchups this week. They opened the week against Buffalo and the New York Islanders, 2 teams that rank last and second last in the NHL in all situations expected goals against. And over the next 2 weeks, Detroit has the 8th easiest fantasy schedule. So everything lines up for Larkin to continue this scorching hot start.
Let's wrap it up with your trend. One thing that's maybe concerning you right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really concerning me because I had Ilya Sorokin on my do not draft list this preseason. I actually mentioned him on Oilers Nation Every Day with Utah early in the season. So hopefully no daily faceoff users were drafting him. He was a kind of a 5th or 6th round landmine for me, but it's been a really rough start. And the trend is that he's allowed 4 goals in every start this season. He's sitting with a 4.13 goals against average and an .861 save percentage so far. Now, to be fair, it's not all Sorokin's fault because according to Sports Logic, the Islanders have been absolutely brutal defensively. I mean, Matthew Schaefer has been great, but as a whole, this team has been a disaster. They rank dead last in both 5v5 expected goals against per 60 and all situation expected goals against per 60. So, Sorokin, he's faced the 6th most inner slot shots. Like, he's just being held out to dry all the time. So with that kind of defensive collapse in front of him, it's really hard to imagine him rebounding in any meaningful fantasy way this year. It's also worth noting that he's 3 years removed from that Vezina finalist season, and over his last 119 starts, he owns just a 47% win rate, a .290 goals against average, and a .906 save percentage. So obviously, Sorokin, the talent is still there, but the situation there is just dragging him down. And until the Islanders can clean it up defensively, and they have a lot of work to do that, Sorokin's fantasy value is going to stay underwater this year.
Brock, appreciate you popping on. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks so much for having me, boys.
There you go. Brock Seguin, our managing fantasy editor at dailyfaceoff.com. Huts, let's wrap up the show here. A little Ask DFO for you. And we got a couple of Hawks fans in our YouTube chat, and they're being cautiously optimistic, but the Hawks have points in 5 of 7. Are you buying it all on Chicago, or is it still way too early to be having this conversation?
Yeah, I don't want it's way too early, but this is good. This is a step forward. This is what you want. You want them to be in meaningful games. You want your stars to play with purpose. You don't want a team to be, we see it all the time where teams struggle and you're around that losing culture and not being in games. And there's so much value for these younger Hawks players being involved in tight games and games that mean something as the season wears on. So it's a step in the right direction, but I don't know. I'm not buying everything right now, Ty.
You'd rather be where the Hawks are than where the Sharks are. I don't know if you heard the comment from Ryan Warsofsky over the weekend where he said he'd give up one of his children just to get a win. The Sharks are 0-5 on the season. They are the final winless team in the NHL. Let's get to our daily bets for today, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app and use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 as we bring in our boy Pat Puff, who is the only loser from Friday night. Both Hutton and I picking up plus money dubs, Pat, and you're out of the survivor pool. So am I, bud.
I mean, it's been a tough week for me, and it's honestly kind of looks similar to my personal account. So, I mean, it is what it is right now. Sometimes you're in a slump, but I'm hoping I can turn it around today.
All right, picks for tonight. Huts, I'll let you go first. What do you like?
Well, we got a heavyweight matchup, East versus West, Carolina in Vegas. I'm taking the Vegas Golden Knights at home. I just think they're rolling. I think this is going to be a great game. Either way, it's a coin flip. I couldn't make a decision, but I'm rolling with the Vegas Golden Knights here.
Pat?
Yeah, I mean, when you're down bad, you got to go with the hottest hand in the league. I'm picking Jack Eichel to get 2 points tonight. They're playing the Hurricanes, so when you need the big players to step up, you're playing against the biggest guys in the league. The guy with 15 points in 6 games is where I'm headed.
Don't mind that at all. I'm going with another shot prop parlay. Give me Jordan Eberle 2+ shots. Give me Adam Fox 2+ shots plus 142 is the payout on that one. Each of these guys have hit it in every game they've played so far this season. So I like that the number's set low at 2. I like the payout at plus 142 as well as that is a wrap for our daily bets. Let's end the show with a little bit of garbage time. And Huts, you and I are going to be in the building tonight in Toronto for Game 7, Mariners and Blue Jays. And I don't know if you saw, but when the Mariners came in to their game in Toronto the other day, all the players rocking Mariners jerseys. And the only issue I have with this is that there are a lot of Southern Ontario boys on this Mariners team. There were a couple of them that are like, yeah, I'll rock the jersey. And in their heads, they're probably doing a little like, yeah, go Jays.
Yeah, you have to do what you have to do. Hey, when that's where your paycheck's coming from, Seattle. But it was cool. It was cool to see them walk in, and I'm struggling with the no suits, the outfits that Toronto walk in with. Some of the guys, you can tell the older players wearing their suits, and I'm sure a lot of them would wear the Toronto gear. But maybe the Leafs they knew they were going to Game 7, so they weren't too stressed about that. They let the Kraken get the win so the Jays could win last night.
All right, that is a wrap on today's edition of the show. Jeff Merritt coming up with the sheet at the top of the hour, and then Hutz and I will be back live from Toronto tomorrow. Very exciting stuff. Everybody in the YouTube, great as always. Brock Seguin and Steven Ellis, fantastic. Look forward to having them on Mondays going forward. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow, noon Eastern. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on the sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute.